Yeah, good afternoon, and I welcome you all to the next class on application development using Python. So, let me share my screen PPT. Last class we started with the basics. You understood the need for programming, and we also discussed a few things with respect to the Python, interactive Python shell. So, that is what we discussed. I hope all of you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So talking to Python, you understood through interactive Python shell. Uh, uh, so it will prompt you every time that you run when it wants to ask you what to do next. Okay. So then you should keep answering what the Python should do for you by giving the command. So this is what we understood. One simple example. Even I used the Spider IDE for uh, doing these things in the interactive Python shell. And then we understood the elements of the Python. The elements of the Python programming language are very much similar to the elements of the natural language. So even in Python, you'll find something like vocabularies, words, sentence structure, and story structure. So this is the even the Python elements, Python programming language elements are organized very similar to the natural language. So when in natural language we say it as vocabulary or words, but so Python we call them as variables and reserved words. And this is same for majority or most of the programming languages. And then sentence structure, because valid syntax patterns are required even when you're writing the programs using the Python, and that is basically relating to what the sentence structure. And if you want to do a bigger computation or bigger problem solving, you'll be writing a program by using these reserved words, variables, and organizing them in a proper valid syntax patterns. That is something similar to the story structure of natural language. So and then we understood this, I think, the Python scripts last class. What are Python scripts? If you have only a small program, say the length is 3 to 4 lines, you don't have to make it as a program. You can always execute them at the Python interactive shell one after the other. So if the number of lines is more, the length, the commands to execute is more and lengthier, much longer, then you have to put all those commands in the form of a file and with the extension .py, and you got to ask the Python to run it as a script. Okay, because you say you have 100 instructions or the 100 statements or 1000 statements, it is not manually possible for you to keep writing those each one of the statement at the interactive Python shell. It will take much time or longer time for you to do that. So instead you can group all of them in a file, and that is basically called as a Python script, and you can ask the Python to interpret the script and perform the execution. Now interactive and script differences I have told you. So next program steps are the program flow. So within the Python programming language and not restricted to only this Python programming language, and majority of the Python programming language, we have three major constructs, programming constructs. One is the sequence, another one is the conditional, another one is the repetition. Now this you'll find in all the programming languages, and we have the same even in the Python programming language also. Now sequence is one important construct. So what it says, the order in which the statements needs to be performed. And the another important programming construct is the conditional. So sometimes we may have to perform the execution of few statements, and sometimes we may have to skip the execution of few statements. So that then the conditional statements are necessary. So without the conditional statement, the skipping of the statements cannot be done. So if the condition is true, I want the statements which are under the if to be executed. If the condition is false, I want the statements which are there in the else part to be executed. So condition is true, if statements are executed, and else statements are skipped. And condition is false, the statements which are there inside the else part is executed, and the statements which are residing inside the if boundary are skipped. Okay, so the conditional statements are also very much essential, and the repetitive programming constructs are also very much essential. Why? Say if I want to repeatedly perform some operations, from fixed number of times or repeatedly forever, so then the repetitive statements are necessary. If I assume the programming languages are not supporting the repetitive statements, so we have to write the program for so many times. So we got to repeat writing the same statements repeatedly for those many number of times. Say for example, I want a set of statements to be executed for 1000 times. Now what is that I have to do? Those statements has to be repeated for 1000 times. So if the language supports the repetitive constructs, so then I don't have to do that. So just write one set of statements and ask the repetitive constructors to repeat it for so many times. And we have many repetitive constructs which will help in this manner. Say for example, for loop, while loop, do while loop. So all this can be used. So when I say conditional, you have if statement, if else statement, if else ladder, switch statement is also a conditional statement. Now all these things, even you find the sequence, conditional and repetitive programming constructs in Python programming language also. Next is the sequential step. As an example, I have taken this. This is a program now. See, this is the sequence. So these are performed one after the other. So it will always start with x is equal to 2 and then print x, something like this. So print the value of x is incremented by 2, and then you are printing. So the program is, when the program is running, it flows from one step to the next step. So that is what is sequence. Okay, the path is like this. There is only one path in this. Now, so there will be only one path if there are no repetitive statements and no conditional statements. So when you add the conditional programming constructs to your program or the repetitive programming constructs to your program will get the multiple paths. Okay. So this is one example. Now this example I can execute it. I'll just try to copy this. Yeah, it is copying. I'll just go to my Spider IDE. All of you can see there's Spider IDE.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the program which I showed you yesterday. Now I don't have to make it as a program. See, here I told it's a program. Now can this be executed in interactive Python shell? Yes, it can be. Now what I'll do, this is my IPython console, interactive Python console. I'll just paste my program here. I've pasted it. See, x is equal to 2, print x is equal to x plus 2, and print x. Now you get like this, it's something like what? There's a continuation. Okay. Now I can hit enter. Now it is asking me to type one more statement. So again I got this prompt. What does it mean? So it is asking me to enter if there is one more statement. Now if I don't have any more statement to enter, what I'll do is I'll just hit the enter key. I'm done. See, since this printf statement is printing what was the initial value of x, and after that the x value is getting incremented by 2, and then print x, this is printing it as 4. Okay. So even the program, so even this program, what I can do is I can just copy this entire thing and put it here, and I can go for execution. Okay. Let me move back to this is what the sequence. It's getting executed one after the other. Any number of times you execute, it's not like you'll get the value 4 first and next 2. Okay. It is always 2 and 4. So that is what the sequence. Okay. Now if I'm not making the slides full screen, is it okay? Is it visible to you properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Is it visible, or the full slideshow is required?
It's visible, sir.
Visible, okay. Now in case if it's not visible, if you say if you feel like it's too small, then you can tell me, I can go for the full slideshow, because for me to switch between this spider and PPT, it will be helpful if I am going in this mode. Next, conditional. Okay, now this is the flow chart, you know this. So I have the program here. Now I am initializing x is equal to 5, and then I have the conditional statement written over here. Okay, what this condition is saying, if x is less than 10, okay, see, the compound statement now. That means under this I get few statements grouped under this. Okay, so just the syntax, this is how it goes. Okay, so no opening parenthesis, no closing parenthesis, nothing, and you don't have to even end with a semicolon also. Okay, next, if x is less than 10 semicolon, so this is right now under this if statement. How do you say this is? This printf is under this if statement. So I think I don't get. Okay, I will just let me go to the slideshow. Pointer, I don't get it. If I'm, yeah, now I get it. Yeah, this one. So this printf, okay, is under this if statement. So this statement is falling under this. That means if the condition is true, this statement is executed. And if is not under this, okay, because you can just see the indentation. Now if I want to place one more statement under this, so with the same indentation I got to do it. Okay, so how? So the next statement what I am writing, it should come exactly below the printf statement with the same indentation. So this grouping is mainly based on the indentation, and we don't have the concept of using the curly braces. Next, if x is greater than 20, I just say it is a bigger, and finally I just say print, finish. So now if x is less than 10, so the condition is true, we have this statement skipped. This is no longer performed, and if x is greater than 20, this statement is skipped and this is performed, and this is always performed. Finish is always performed irrespective of the condition whether is x is less than 10 or greater than 20. Why? Because this statement is no longer controlled, no longer under the control of these two conditional statements. This is just outside the control of these two conditional statements. Whereas this print and this print, they are under the control of these two conditional statements, and they get executed only if the condition is true. Where the condition is false, that statement gets skipped. So this is what the conditional. Now repeated steps. Okay, let me show you this also. Let me perform the execution of it. Yeah, I'll copy the same thing. I go to spider. I've done now. See, now I've just copied and pasted it. I got the same structure. X is equal to 5. If x is less than 10, see, this printf statement is located under this. Okay. Now if since the value of x is 5, so it is less than 10, so it should say smaller to me, and finish. Now, and it is asking me, it doesn't know, it is asking me, if you have one more statement, please do it. Now I don't have anything to do, I just say enter. It says smaller and finish. Next, yes, mute. No. Repeated steps. So you want to repeat the execution of few statements for the finite number of times or infinite number of times, then you can go for using repeated steps. Now we have used the while loop here. Okay, so n is equal to 5, while n greater than 0, so there is a colon here. Okay, n greater than 0, there is a colon, because all the compound statement should have this colon. And then print, I'm just printing the current value of the n, and then what I'm doing is n is equal to n minus 1, simple logic it is, and then print done. Okay, so repetitive. So it transfer how many times? 5 times, and the output what you get is something like this. Now can we execute this? Yes, we can also execute this. Same thing. Okay, and here, so this sometimes when you do copy paste, this you have to delete, and it should be something like this. See, when I did, the color of done changed. Okay, now I just press the enter key now. Okay, it's saying invalid syntax, n is equal to n minus 1. Okay, even minus also. Okay, let me copy this again. Okay, so when you do copy paste, it happens something like that. I got the output. So it will totally take a different ASCII value for these characters when you do copy paste. Okay, just remove those characters and write it again. It will come. Okay, so 5 4 3 2 1. Okay. And finally done. So we have these two statements repeated for 5 times. Next. Hope you are following.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Next. Now, this is the same program which I showed you yesterday. Now, can you identify what are the sequential statements here, what are the repeated statements, and what are the conditional statements? Now, this program has all the programming constructs. It has sequential programming constructs, repeated programming constructs, and conditional as well. So, the one which you are seeing in the yellow color, correct? No? So, this is the sequential, because they get executed one after the other. First this, and next this, and next this. And see, here I have written it as read mode. But in the program which I showed you yesterday, the mode was not mentioned. And I told you by default when you open any file using open, it is opened in the read mode, and you don't have to explicitly tell read mode. So if you are interested in opening the file in the write only mode or read write mode, then you got to explicitly specify the mode. Okay, and then these are the repeated statements. See this words. So this execution of this line, how many times it will be repeated? It will be repeated for the number of lines which are present inside the file which you are opening. So if the file which you are opening has 1000 lines, this statement will be executed for 1000 times. And what about this? This statement will be executed for each and every word that is there in the file. Okay, if the file has 10,000 words, you have this particular statement executed for so many times. And this is again a sequence. Big count and big word is again a sequence. And what about this? This is a repeated statement again. And what about this? It's a conditional statement. So, and again this is a sequence. Okay. So we have all the three constructs here: sequential, repeated, even the conditional also. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's showing you a short Python story about how to count the words in a file. That is what we are doing now. And a word is used to read the data from a user, a sentence about updating one of the many counts here, and a paragraph about how to find the largest item in the list. Okay, so this is because I told, so the language here is something very much similar to the natural language, what you do, because it is composed of the words and vocabularies, and then the sentence, and then the story structure. Same thing here also. Now when you look at this entire thing, what is this? It's a story which is composed of the sequential programming constructs, the repeated programming constructs, and the conditional programming constructs. Okay, next is interpreter and compiler. Okay, let me make it little slideshow now, because you'll not get any programs to execute for a while. Okay, so the programming language translators falls into two categories, and you know this: interpreters and compilers. Okay. What an interpreter does, it takes each line of the source code written by the programmer and parses the source code, interprets the instructions on the fly. That means So it is not going to interpret all the lines at once and produce a totally machine representation of the code. What it does, on the fly, it takes each statement or the instruction from the program, interprets it and produces the output. Now, what about Python? Python, is it an interpreter or a compiler? So Python is an interpreter. And when you are running the Python interactively, we can type a line of Python sentence and Python processes it immediately and is ready for us to type another line of Python. Okay. Python is basically an interpreter. Python is an interpreter. So example here. Say I say x is equal to 6 and print x, it prints me 6. And then y is equal to y into x into 7. X value is already defined, 6. And it will multiply, and when I say print y, it prints me 42. Okay, it's an interpreter. Every time you write something and it enter key, it is accepting, processing and giving you the response. And the same thing happens even when you are writing it in the form of a script. Now compiler. Now what a compiler does, for a compiler you have to give the entire source program, entire source file. One entire source file should be given to the compiler. What the compiler will do, it will translate the high level source code into the machine language, or you can say the object code. The source code will be converted into an object code, and so this object code is later used for execution. Now on Windows system, okay, so normally the machine language program will have this suffix or the extension .exe. Sometimes, so they can also be made as the dynamic link libraries. See, if you are making it as DLL, so the service offered by this particular program can be used in another program. So what does DLL is nothing but dynamic link library. So whatever the functionality this program offers can be accessed from the other programs also. Only thing you should know what is the name of the function and what are the parameters you got to pass. So if you are making it as an exe file, so it cannot be called from the other programs. In case if you want to call the services of this program from the another program, it is always better to make it as a DLL file, dynamic link library. Otherwise, so you make it as an exe file. So in Linux or Macintosh machines, there is no suffix. Even for the executable programs, you don't find the suffix like .exe or .dll. So you might have observed even when you are writing the C programs in the Linux environment or the Fedora environment and compile them by using the C compiler or GCC. So you get the default output file a.out. So that is the default output file created, and the extension is not .exe and the extension is not DLL. What you get is an a.out, which is nothing but an output file, and this can be executed. And even the scripts what you write, so can also be executed by just giving the execute permission to the file under the Linux or the Fedora environment. Now executable file, how does it look? Can you read it? No. So it completely looks crazy and be unreadable. So you cannot read it. Who can read it? Only the CPU can read it and understand it. Okay. So it is something like this. You try opening any of the exe file. Say write a simple C program and try to compile it, and you get the executable file. So try to open it and have a look. So you get something like this. Next, Python interpreter. Now I told Python is an interpreter. It's not a compiler. It processes one statement at a time on the fly. Now how this Python interpreter is written? So the Python interpreter is written using the C language. That is the reason I say C is a very powerful language. And majority of the high-level programming languages what we are using now, it may be Java or even the Python what we are discussing now, they are based on the native APIs written using C. Even Python, majority of the time and many times it makes a call to the native APIs which are written using C. The APIs which are written using C are called as native APIs. And even the Python interpreter what we are talking now, that itself is written using the C language. Now can we get the source code of the Python interpreter? Yes, it is available. So you just go to www.python.org, you can get the entire source code of the Python interpreter. It's basically a C program. So Python is a C program itself and is compiled into what? The machine code. It's written as a C program, but it is compiled and into a machine code. Just when I say machine code, exe file. So if you install Python, it's nothing but you are having a copy of the Python C program machine code on your system, something like this. Say I have installed Python to my system, so you will get something like C Python. Say you have installed Python version 3.5, you get python.exe. So this is basically the compiled version of the C program, which is representing the Python interpreter. I have few exercises for you now, so I want you people to answer. Okay, so let me open the chat box. Exercise 1, which is the what is the function of the secondary memory in the computer? The options are also given. So the very easiest question it is. Just go through the question and give me your answers in the chat box. Okay, I'm opening my chat box. So just go through the question once again. What is the function of the secondary memory in the computer? I have 4 options here. Execute all of the computations and logic of the program, retrieve web pages over the internet, store information for a long term, even behind a power cycle, take input from the user. All options are totally relevant. So only one option here, which is very relevant to the question given. So I want you to just put your answers in the chat box. Got the point? Even if you write just the option also, it's fine. You don't have to write the complete thing, whether it is A, B, C, D. Got the point? Yeah. Answer. No responses yet.
There are responses not shown in the channel.
I can't hear you. Please be louder.
So there are many responses in the chat box, so I don't know why I couldn't show to you.
Oh, okay, okay. I am not getting. One second. One second. I don't know what is the issue with my end. Let me at least post a simple I to you. Sending I, okay. And okay, no, I'm not getting any response. I'm not able to see. Okay. I don't know what went wrong. Submitting chart. Can you see my chat message there?
You can see your
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I don't know why I'm not able to see yours here. Okay.
Sir, you have set your status to do not disturb them.
Oh, one second. Oh, yeah, I'm getting it. Oh, change settings. Okay. I got it. Enable block. No, okay. I don't know.
Sir, you can change it by clicking on your profile picture.
Yeah, yeah.
You can change it by clicking on your profile picture.
I'll just from the profile picture. I'll just see. Yeah, do not disturb. It's there in the do not disturb. Yeah, it is available. I have made it as available. Now it is message status. Okay, settings. Open application in background. Okay, I'm getting. I think if I go back to the post, I can see all the responses what you people are giving. But as of now, notifications. Okay, let me check later. Okay. It's okay, and that question is the easy one. Okay, we'll go to the next question. I hope all of you have given the answer as C. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Now the second one. So, what is a program? So, give a response because since I can't see here in the chat box. Okay, I can see one now. One has responded. So just try to answer now here. The what is the program? Answer it now in the chat box. Let me see. Okay, now you can give at least in the WhatsApp group. I can have a look. I have my WhatsApp group open for CCSE. So write your answers and send it to WhatsApp group. So this one I'll check for the and now I'm getting okay, now I'm getting. I don't know what was the problem till now. Now I'm getting okay. A set of instructions to solve a problem, group of instructions, a computer to perform the specific task. Okay, all this is fine because you know that program. Okay, there's nothing but the set of instructions. Okay, we'll go to the next question. So, what is the difference between a compiler and an interpreter? Just now I told you. If you're able to distinguish quickly in the chat box. Compiler and interpreter. Can I have the answer for differences between interpreter and Python? Sorry, compiler. Interpreter translates just one statement of the program at a time into machine code, whereas the compiler scans the entire file. Good. Compiler translates the entire program at once, while the interpreter does it line by line. Good. Okay. Okay. Good. And we'll go to the next question. So next is again a multiple choice. Which of the following contains the machine code? A Python interpreter, keyboard, Python source file, a word processing document. Yeah, I'm still receiving the responses for the compiler and interpreter. A, the Python interpreter, good. Good, okay. Now, what is the language in which the Python interpreter is written? Now, the next question, what is the language in which the Python interpreter is written? C language, good. Okay. Well, move to the, I think I have few more questions after this. What is wrong with this following code? I hope all of you can see this. There is some statement, Python statement return. Can you just identify what's wrong in that? Just identify what's wrong in this and write your answers in the chat box. Okay, I'm getting responses. Let me check. So spelling of print. Okay. Yum in place of n. Okay. Print keyword is written wrong. Good. Okay. And what about the parenthesis? And syntax is correct as per Python 2.7 but not as per 3. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. So this, okay, one thing which you have noticed is this, yum. So it is not m, it is n, and there is no parenthesis also. So if you take the Python version below 2.7, correct, no? So this is fine, syntactically correct. But if you take the Python version 2.7 onwards, correct, no? This is not syntactically correct. So you should have a opening and closing parenthesis here. Okay. I'm still getting many responses. Very good. So it depends on version, bracket. Yeah, my majority of them are answered. Good. Okay, let me go to the next one. Yeah. So where in the computer is a variable such as x stored after the following Python line finishes, x is equal to 1, 2, 3. So I want to tell Python, you take the value of x as 1, 2, 3. So where this value will be available? Will it be available in the CPU or the main memory or the secondary memory, input devices or output devices? Whenever I do, say even if I open the interactive Python shell, if I write x is equal to 1, 2, 3, it's a statement, Python statement, it gets executed. So where this gets stored? Will you find this inside the CPU or main memory, secondary memory, input device or output device? Main memory. Answer B. Good. So many B's I've got. Okay. So next one. Yeah. What will be the following program? What will the following program print out? I have x is equal to 43, x is equal to x plus, sorry, this is not L, don't confuse, this is not L, it is 1. So it is 1 only, numerical 1. And print x. Will it print 43? Will it print 44? Will it print x plus 1? Or error, because if x is equal to x plus 1 is not possible mathematically. This is 1 I have told. It is x is equal to x plus 1. What will the program print out? So 44. 44 is correct. Good. So many of you responded with 44. Good. Okay. So I think this is the last slide in this. Let me move to the next PPT. Variables, expressions and statements. So value is one of the most basic thing a program works with. So when I say a value, it can be a letter or a number. Example, I can write it as 1, 2, even sometimes I can write the strings like hello world. These are all the values. When the program wants to perform the computation, what you are saying, it requires the basic thing. What is required is the value, and the value can be a numerical value, or it can be a character, or it can be a string. Now here in this example 1, 2 and hello world, what we have written, 1 and 2 are of type integer and hello world is of type string. So like this, you want to perform any computation, so the basic thing that is required is a value, and this value can be a numerical value, or it can be a simple character, or it can also be a string. Now here I have, so fixed values such as numbers, letters and strings are called constants because their values do not change. So and numerical constants do not use quotes. String constants use single quotes. This is what you have to remember. So, for example, I am printing print 1, 2, 3, it is printed as a numerical value. So, print 98.6, it is printed as a numerical value. So, print hello world, it's a string. Now, whenever I want to print the strings, so this quotes is necessary. Okay. So, let me show you this on the interactive Python console. So print 1, 2, 3, it's printed as a numerical value 1, 2, 3, or it's an integer. So print 1, 2, 3.3, it's a floating point value. Similarly, if I say print ABC, it's a string. Now print again 10. Now this time, it is not printed as a numerical value, it is printed as a string. So because I have enclosed it inside what? The single quotes. Now there is one more thing. So print. So I am just trying to print this, and there is no single quote used, and it is taken as what? A numerical value, but I have separated by commas. Say I wanted to write it as 10 lakh, I've used the commas here, but what print will print is, it will print like this 100. Now the print will consider it as the integers separated by commas. This is one integer, this is another integer, and this is one more integer, and we have it printed as 100 because value of this 00 is nothing but 0, and value of this 00 is nothing but 0. Okay. So let us try this. Print 1, enter. So it is 1000. It's not considering it as one single integer value, but it is considering it as 3 integers separated by commas. Okay. Now I can do it like this. If I want all these things to get printed as it is, then I got to make it as a string. Now it gets printed as it is. So now reserved words. So as usual, as you know already, the reserved words in any of the programming language cannot be used as the variable names or the identifiers, and same thing is true here also in Python. Now how many reserved words are available in Python? So there are around 33 reserved words or keywords available in Python, and what are they? These are all, and slowly we'll be learning how to use each of these things one by one. Now illegal variables in Python. Now say I'm writing this statement, Python statement, this is the variable name is equal to, I'm trying to assign this as a string to it. So this is an invalid variable because it's starting with the number. Okay, the same variable name rules apply here also, which you have already discussed in C programming language. or any other programming language. So same rules apply even in Python also. Here also you cannot have the variable name starting with the digit, invalid syntax. And here the another example, more art is equal to this I am giving. So again the special character is not a load. Okay. So again invalid syntax. I have class is equal to this, and again this is syntax error because class is a reserved word. So class is a reserved word or a keyword. Now variables. So the name given to the memory location which can hold the value. Here x is equal to 12.2 I have given. So this is the name given to some memory location, and what it is storing is 12.2, and y is equal to 14. So this is another name given to another memory location, and what it is holding is 14. Now say x is equal to 12.2, I had written this memory location earlier was holding a floating point value 12.2, and y is equal to 14, the another memory location which is it is holding 14, and then again I say x is equal to 100. What this will do? It will overwrite the earlier value 12.2 which is a floating point value by an integer value 100. And Python variable naming rules, I told the same naming variable naming convention applies here also in the Python, what you have discussed in C. So must start with an integer or an underscore. So must start with a letter or an underscore. Must consist of letters, numbers, and underscores, and it is case sensitive. Okay. So the variables which are written in uppercase and lowercase, they are treated differently. So the syntactically correct variables are these things. So and they are written under the classification code. So spam x, spam 2, 3. So variable name can end with the digit, but it cannot start with the digits, and variables can also start with the underscore. So bad ones are these things. Okay. Say you cannot have the variable starting with 2, 3 or with a special symbol, and even your dots are also not allowed. Now different. So since we say it is a case sensitive, so this variable, this one, all three are different. So even though the name looks same, spam, 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 but they are the different variables, because Python is again a case sensitive language. Okay, and the variable names. Okay, you understood the rules of naming the variables. Only three things are there. If you remember these things, it's enough. But as a programmer, when you are using the variable names, you should always follow the best practice. So you should go for giving the variable names which you can easily remember even after for a longer period of time, and it should not confuse you when you are going through the program. So we have an example. Say this is also a valid variable name. Nothing wrong with this. And this is following all the syntax and the rules what we understood for variable naming. So everything, nothing wrong in this. So I am assigning 35.0, and this is another valid variable to which I am assigning 12.50. This is one more valid variable to which I am assigning. So I am multiplying these two and then finally printing. Nothing wrong in this, but only thing is it's not the variable names what you are given is not as per the best practices, and you cannot remember it for a longer period of time, and even when you are writing the lengthier program, it's very difficult. Okay. Now you can do something like this, where I have the variable names as small as possible. A is equal to 3.5, B is equal to 12.50, C is equal to A into B, and print C. Okay, to some extent compared to this is okay, but this is the perfect one as per the best practices. Any point of time when you look in, you should understand what that variable relates to. So this relates to hours, rate, pay, which you cannot make out here, and it is still more difficult. So pay is hours into rate, and print pay. So sentences are aligned. So this is an assignment statement here. This is assignment with an expression, because we have an assignment operator here along with the expression on the RHS, and print x is the print statement. Next, assignment statements can also be the compound, something like this. Okay, so you can have even the nested expressions also. That is also possible. All these things, and how the nested expression gets evaluated. So the same precedence rule applies here also. First, whatever you have inside the parenthesis gets evaluated, and like this. And the operator precedence is also same, and nothing can change these things. Now, I want you to do this now. Write a Python program to add two numbers. So you can write it in a chat box. So it's easy program. So because you have understood something about the Python programs now, so what are the things you have learned till now? So how to take a variable, how to assign a value to it, and you also know how to prompt a message on the screen. Okay, yesterday you learnt it, and you also know how to prompt a message and get the input out of it. Okay, all these things. Just try to write a program, small program, Python program to add two numbers. So I want your answers on the chat box. So if string can use single quote, what does character use? Now all strings you have to use in single quote, even in a character also. A string of length 1 it is. So later you'll understand when we go there. I'll show you. Int xy. No, one answer was there. Just now I could see it, but now it is not there. Okay, I got something. Okay, int. Okay, typecasting also you're doing. Input, enter first number. Int, input second number. Okay, input, type a number, getting it to x. See more. Print a plus b. Okay, getting the numbers, casting them to integer, and then finding. Good. Okay, so getting the numbers a and b, and then print a plus b. Oh, the casting is not here. Okay. Okay, I've got a few answers here in the chat box. I think I've got 4 to 5 answers in the chat box. 3 answers in the chat box. Okay. I'll go to the answer. See what I'm doing. So okay, you people had read it through from the keyboard using the input statement. Now I've given different versions of it. So I'm just assigning the first number directly to num1, second number to num2, sum is equal to num1 plus num2, and then I'm printing the sum. Any idea what this will print? The first program what I'm showing here, what is the final result out of it? Answer in the chat box, please.
41.
How much it will print out? Forty-one or 41.0?
41.
Sum is 41, 41.0 I got, okay, okay. Let me execute it. You should get it as 41.0. See, the type is implicitly taken, okay, let me paste it here. See, what I am assigning to num1 is 10.5. What is the type of num1 now? It is float. What is the type of num2? It is float. I am adding those two, obviously. So here this I have to change. The sum should be 41.0. So 41.0. So they are all implicitly typed. So based on the assignment, the type of the variable is decided. Now what you are assigning to num1 is now 10.5. Implicitly the type of num1 becomes the float, and num2 is also float, and it is 41.0. Okay, now I think you have the next class. Will stop here. I have few 1, 2, 3 and 2 more versions of addition. All the differences I'll be telling you in the next class. So now we will stop the class, and before I stop, if you have any, now don't leave the meeting until I download the attendance. If you have any queries, you can ask me. So I'm closing the chat window now. Okay, it's a totally good response from you all. That means you are all attentive and listening to me. Thank you. Okay, 63 students. I think it got downloaded. Downloading. Yeah, it got downloaded. Now if you have anything to discuss with me, please do discuss. Okay, if you don't have anything, you can leave this and join the next class. Thank you.